Welcome to Stoic Today, where transformation begins not with noise, but with clarity. Before you go any further, take a moment to do something powerful for your future. Click the subscribe button, leave a meaningful comment, and allow this message to ignite a deeper level of awareness and growth in your life. Thank you for being here. Your time is valuable and this content was created to honor it. Now, let's go deeper. Please continue listening to the wonderful content below. Persevere to overcome all challenges to achieve wealth, success, happiness, and a fulfilling life. Please listen to the next great content. Life is full of moments where people may say or do things that hurt us. It's a natural part of the human experience to feel offended, angry, or betrayed when someone wrongs us. But here's the truth. Reacting to that hurt does not serve you. You see, your emotions are your responsibility. When someone hurts you, they don't get to control how you feel, unless you allow them to. It's easy to let the sting of someone's words push us into a reaction. We feel the urge to retaliate, to defend ourselves, or to make them feel the way we do, but take a moment to step back and ask yourself, what's the cost of reacting in that moment of hurt? We have a choice. We can let our emotions guide us to a rash decision, or we can take a deep breath, regain control, and choose peace. It's in that pause, in that silence where you find your TRF power. Emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings, it's about responding with wisdom and clarity, not impulsiveness. When you remain calm, you rise above the situation. You're not letting someone else dictate your mood or your mindset, and that is where your strength lies. Let's consider the power of empathy. Often, when someone lashes out, it's because they're hurting too. You don't have to take their words personally. You don't need to let their pain become yours. Instead of reacting with anger, try to respond with compassion. You may not always understand why they acted the way they did, but you have the choice not to let it consume you. In those moments, remember that you are in control. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend your honor. Letting go of the ego allows you to rise above the petting and find a better way to move forward. The long-term peace that comes from holding back your reaction is far more valuable than the brief satisfaction of lashing out. Never let the actions of others dictate your peace. Responding with silence, with grace, with self-restraint, and with understanding is the ultimate act of strength. When you choose not to react, you choose to protect your inner peace, and that is where true freedom lies. So the next time someone hurts you, remember you have the power to choose how you respond. You are stronger than your reactions. You are in charge of your peace, and that is the greatest victory you can claim. Emotional control is one of the most crucial skills you can develop in life. It is the ability to manage your emotions, especially in moments of stress, anger, or frustration. It's easy to become consumed by emotions when someone hurts you, and it's even easier to react impulsively, saying or doing something you might later regret. However, emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing not to let your emotions take over and drive your actions in a way that does not serve you. The truth is, reacting impulsively when hurt only exacerbates the situation. When we react out of anger or frustration, we're often responding to the situation with the same negative energy that provoked us. It's a knee-jerk response, a way to protect ourselves or to defend our pride. But what we fail to realize in those moments is that by reacting in this way, we often cause more harm than good, both to ourselves and to those around us. We may say things we don't mean, make decisions that are driven by our temporary emotions, and allow the cycle of hurt to continue. True emotional control is recognizing the moment before you react. It's taking a step back and observing the situation from a place of calm. When someone hurts you, they may want to provoke a reaction. It might be intentional, or it might be their own emotional response to something that has nothing to do with you. Either way, moment you react, you've allowed their emotions to take control of yours. It's essential to understand that you are the only person who can control how you feel and how you respond. One of the most important aspects of emotional control is the ability to pause. It's in that pause between the stimulus, the hurtful comment, the offense, the mistake, and your response, where you can take a deep breath, center yourself, and decide what kind of person you want to be in that moment. That pause allows.
Welcome to Growth Mindset Club. What if your greatest strength isn't in defending yourself, but in mastering the art of emotional silence? Imagine the power of walking away without a word, not because you're weak, but because your peace is worth more than their attention. 1. Before you react to pain, pause. That moment of stillness could be the difference between self-destruction and self-mastery. Never react if someone hurts you. Thank you very much, and please be generous and click the subscribe button to continue watching meaningful videos. Life is full of moments where people may say or do things that hurt us. It's a natural part of the human experience to feel offended, angry, or betrayed when someone wrongs us. But here's the truth. Reacting to that hurt does not serve you. You see, your emotions are your responsibility. When someone hurts you, they don't get to control how you feel unless you allow them to. It's easy to let the sting of someone's words push us into a reaction. We feel the urge to retaliate, to defend ourselves, or to make them feel the way we do, but take a moment to step back and ask yourself, what's the cost of reacting in that moment of hurt? We have a choice. We can let our emotions guide us to a rash decision, or we can take a deep breath, regain control, and choose peace. It's in that pause and that silence where you find your TRTH power. Emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about responding with wisdom and clarity, not impulsiveness. When you remain calm, you rise above the situation. You're not letting someone else dictate your mood or your mindset, and that is where your strength lies. Let's consider the power of empathy. Often when someone lashes out, it's because they're hurting too. You don't have to take their words personally. You don't need to let their pain become yours. Instead of reacting with anger, try to respond with compassion. You may not always understand why they acted the way they did, but you have the choice not to let it consume you. In those moments, remember that you are in control. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to defend. Your honor, letting go of the ego, allows you to rise above the petting and find a better way to move forward. The long-term peace that comes from holding back your reaction is far more valuable than the brief satisfaction of lashing out. Never let the actions of others dictate your peace. Responding with silence, with grace, with self-restraint, and with understanding is the ultimate act of strength. When you choose not to react, you choose to protect your inner peace, and that is where true freedom lies. So the next time someone hurts you, remember you have the power to choose how you respond. You are stronger than your reactions. You are in charge of your peace, and that is the greatest victory you can claim. Emotional control is one of the most crucial skills you can develop in life. It is the ability to manage your emotions, especially in moments of stress, anger, or frustration. It's easy to become consumed by emotions when someone hurts you, and it's even easier to react impulsively, saying or doing something you might later regret. However, emotional control is not about suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing not to let your emotions take over and drive your actions in a way that does not serve you. The truth is, reacting impulsively when hurt only exacerbates the situation. When we react out of anger or frustration, we're often responding to the situation with the same negative energy that provoked us. It's a knee-jerk response, a way to protect ourselves or to defend our pride. But what we fail to realize in those moments is that by reacting in this way, we often cause more harm than good, both to ourselves and to those more harmed around us. We may say things we don't mean, make decisions that are driven by our temporary emotions, and allow the cycle of hurt to continue. True emotional control is recognizing the moment before you react. It's taking a step back and observing the situation from a place of calm. When someone hurts you, they may want to provoke a reaction. It might be intentional, or it might be their own emotional response to something that has nothing to do with you. Either way, the moment you react, you've allowed their emotions to take control of yours. It's essential to understand. Understand that you are the only person who can control how you feel and how you respond. One of the most important aspects of emotional control is the ability to pause. It's in that pause between the stimulus, the hurtful comment, the offense, the mistake, and your response, where you can take a deep breath, center yourself, and decide what kind of person you want to be in that moment. That pause allows you the opportunity to let go of any impulse to react immediately. It also gives you a chance to evaluate whether your reaction will contribute to solving the problem or just escalate the tension. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to say nothing, to let the moment pass, and to collect yourself before responding. There is a powerful sense of freedom that comes with emotional control. When you manage your emotions, you don't let others dictate how you feel. You are not at the mercy of anyone else's behavior. This freedom isn't about avoiding conflict or suppressing your emotions. It's about taking charge of your inner state and choosing to stay balanced. No matter what's happening around you, you choose peace instead of chaos. You choose clarity instead of confusion. You choose to protect your emotional energy because it's the most valuable resource you have. Emotional control often leads to better decision making. When you're calm, you're in a better position to think clearly and rationally. When you act from a place of calmness, you make decisions that align with your long-term values and goals. Reacting out of anger may feel good in the short term, but it rarely aligns with your higher purpose. It may lead to regret, missed opportunities, or broken relationship when you are in control of your emotions. You act with intention and mindfulness, which helps you build life that reflects your true desires and aspirations. Another key aspect of emotional control is self-awareness. When you're aware of your emotions, you can better understand what triggers them. You can identify patterns in your behavior and responses. Emotional control isn't something that happens overnight. It's a skill that requires practice, reflection, and dedication. As you develop emotional control, you'll begin to notice that you can handle challenges with more grace and poise. Instead of reacting with impulsivity, you will respond with thoughtfulness and wisdom. It's important to remember that emotional control does not mean you deny your feelings. Emotions are natural and they provide valuable insights into our experiences, but emotional control is about not letting your emotions take the reins and guide your actions. Is about acknowledging your feelings and then choosing the most constructive response. It's about recognizing that you don't have to react to every provocation. In fact, sometimes the best response is no response at all in situations where others try to hurt you or provoke you. Emotional control is your shield. When you remain composed and unshaken, you not only protect your peace, but you also set a standard for how you want to be treated. People will begin to respect you more because they see that you are not easily swayed by external forces. They will learn that they cannot manipulate or control your emotions. Ultimately, emotional control is a reflection of your strength. It shows that you are in command of your own life and that you don't allow the actions or words of others to disrupt your inner world. It is one of the most empowering qualities you can cultivate when you control your emotions. You control your destiny. You stay focused, you stay grounded, and you continue moving forward. No matter what life throws your way, sometimes when someone hurts us, it's difficult not to take their actions. Personally, our first instinct is often to react, to defend ourselves, to protect our dignity, or to show the other person that we won't let them walk over us. But in those moments, what we might fail to realize is that real acting often feeds into the very negativity that caused the hurt in the first place. It can escalate the situation, bring more harm, and in many cases lead to regret. The power of silence and choosing not to react is often far more valuable than any words or actions we could say or do in defense of ourselves. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. It is a tool for maintaining your emotional peace. When you respond to hurt with silence, you create space for reflection, calmness, and clarity. Instead of being swept away by the current of emotions, you choose to stay anchored in your own peace by not reacting immediately. You're choosing to protect yourself from the potential damage that can come with acting impulsively in that silence. You can take the time you need to evaluate the situation more rationally. I'll decide how you truly feel and determine the best course of action from a place of calm rather than from a place of reactionary emotion. Often people lash out at others because of their own internal struggles. They may be acting out of frustration, insecurity, or a need for validation. Their hurtful words or actions are not always a reflection of who you are, but rather a reflection of what they are going through. Recognizing this can allow you to approach the situation with empathy instead of defensiveness. When you choose not to react, you free yourself from the trap of playing into someone else's emotional turmoil. You don't have to match their energy or engage in their drama. By remaining silent, you are demonstrating a deep understanding that their pain is their own and it's not yours to carry. But silence isn't passive. It doesn't mean that you've given up your power or let the other person have control. It is, in fact, one of the most powerful ways to retain control over your own emotions and actions when you choose not to react. You're asserting that you are not governed by external events or people. You're showing that your peace cannot be disturbed so easily. It's not about avoiding conflict, but rather about choosing the right moment, the right words, or the right actions to engage in, if any at all. Silence allows you to rise above, to prevent a situation from spiraling into more negativity, and to create the opportunity for resolution without escalation. Choosing silence also provides the chance to think more deeply about the situation. When someone hurts, you're often swept up in the heat of the moment, making it hard to see the bigger picture. But when you take a moment to step back, to not immediately respond, you're allowing yourself to reflect on the intent behind the words or actions that hurt you. Is it worth engaging in a back and forth that can make things worse? Sometimes what feels like an urgent response is really just a reaction to our own emotions, rather than a reasoned response to the actual situation. By remaining silent, you create space for wisdom and perspective to guide you. You allow yourself to process your emotions before responding in a way that aligns with your values and long-term goals. When you choose silence in moments of hurt, it can also serve as a powerful form of self-respect. Shows that you value yourself enough to not lower your standards or engage in unnecessary conflict. Instead of reacting with anger, you choose to protect your energy and preserve your dignity. Respond to negativity with silence communicates that you are not willing to compromise your sense of self-worth to engage in a petty exchange. It's a signal that you understand your worth and that you don't need anyone's approval or validation to know that you are enough in relationships. Choosing silence can also serve as a way to de-escalate tension and allow for more constructive communication later. When emotions are running high, it's easy for words to fly that are hurtful or misunderstood. Silence gives everyone involved a chance to cool off and think more clearly. It shows maturity and a willingness to handle things with care after a period of silence. When you do choose to speak, your words are more likely to be thoughtful, intentional, and productive. Rather than adding fuel to the fire, you can approach the conversation with a level head and a heart that is open to resolution. Silence in the face of hurt allows you to disengage from the drama. Life is full of ups and downs, and not every negative situation is worth engaging with. Some people may try to pull you into their conflict, but when you don't react, you free yourself from the trap of getting caught up in unnecessary battles. You can protect your peace by simply choosing to not participate. In the end, the things you choose not to react to are often the things that have the least impact on your happiness and growth. There is immense power in choosing not to react. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about rising above their attempts to disturb your peace. It's about creating space for clarity, understanding, and empathy by embracing silence in moments of hurt. You maintain control over your own emotions and energy. You refuse to let external circumstances determine your inner state. Instead, you create an opportunity to move forward with grace, wisdom, and a deep sense of self-respect. In many cases, when someone hurts us, the automatic response is often to react in defense of our own emotions or our sense of self. Our ego tends to rise up, prompting us to retaliate, to prove our point, or to express our hurt in an attempt to gain back control. However, one of the most powerful ways to handle this kind of situation is to let go of the need to react and instead choose to rise above. Often the instinct to react is tied to a desire to protect our pride or our image. But when we make the conscious decision not to respond immediately, we are allowing ourselves to preserve something far more important, our peace. When we don't react impulsively, we create a space where we can respond thoughtfully, if at all, rather than simply acting on emotion when hurt. Our emotions are often clouded with anger, frustration, or sadness, and when we speak or act out in these states, we often make the situation worse. A quick reaction based on raw emotion might feel momentarily satisfying, but rarely provides any lasting benefit. In contrast, taking a pause before reacting gives us the chance to detach from the intensity of the moment and gain clarity. This gap between stimulus and response allows us to evaluate the situation more rationally. And in some cases, we realize that responding might not be necessary at all. By not reacting immediately, we also avoid saying things we might later regret, and we take control of the situation rather than letting our emotions control us. This process of emotional detachment from the hurtful situation is what gives us the ability to protect our emotional energy and our well-being. There's also a deeper level of understanding to be gained when we choose not to react. We begin to realize that our reactions to others often have little to do with them and everything to do with how we perceive the situation. When someone hurts us, we might feel that their actions or words have diminished us in some way. But what if the problem isn't what they've said or done, but how we interpret it? The truth is, people's behavior toward us is often more about their own struggles, insecurities, and pain than it is about us by choosing not to react. Create a space to look at the situation from a more compassionate perspective. Instead of immediately becoming defensive or upset, we can consider the possibility that the person who hurt us might be experiencing difficulties of their own, and their actions may not be personal at all. This ability to view others through the lens of empathy, rather than taking their actions as a direct attack, can transform the way we interact with the world around us. In this way, choosing not to react opens up opportunities for greater understanding and healing, both for ourselves and for others. One of the most valuable aspects of choosing not to react is that it allows us to maintain control over our own emotional state. We are the only ones who can truly decide how we respond to a given situation. When someone hurts us, it's easy to feel like we are at the mercy of their words or actions. We might feel that we need to defend ourselves or retaliate in order to restore balance. However, the reality is that we are always in control of our response, even when we cannot control the actions of others. When we resist the temptation to react, we are taking back our power. We are choosing not to let the behavior of others dictate how we feel or how we behave. Instead of being carried away by the emotions of the moment, we ground ourselves, respond in a way that is more in line with our values and long-term goals. The simple act of refraining from reacting can also create space for healthier communication. In many situations, when we respond immediately, we often escalate the tension instead of resolving it. But when we choose not to engage right away, we allow time for the emotions to settle and for the conversation to take a more constructive direction. By not reacting in anger or frustration, we create an opportunity for a calm and rational exchange of ideas. This is particularly important in relationships, whether personal or professional. By demonstrating emotional control and self-restraint, we set a positive example and encourage a more respectful dialogue. In fact, when you refrain from reacting impulsively, others may even begin to notice your ability to remain composed and may be more inclined to treat you with the same respect in return. It's also important to note that choosing not to react doesn't mean that you are ignoring the situation or avoiding conflict. In fact, sometimes silence is the most powerful form of communication. It doesn't imply indifference. Rather, it shows that you are taking the time to process your feelings and assess the best course of action by choosing silence over reaction. You are signaling that you are not interested in engaging in a conflict for the sake of conflict. You are not looking to perpetuate negativity. In some cases, not reacting may be the most effective way to disarm a situation altogether. Often when people expect us to react or engage in a confrontation, their own energy and aggression are diminished when we choose not to react at all. In these moments, silence becomes a strategic tool for maintaining peace and avoiding unnecessary drama in situations where hurtful words or actions are involved. The decision not to react requires a great deal of inner strength. It requires the courage to resist the urge to fight back or defend yourself. Knowing that your peace of mind is more important than winning an argument or proving a point, choosing not to react doesn't mean you are weak or passive. It means that you are wise enough to understand that your emotional health and your peace are more valuable than any fleeting moment of satisfaction that may come from reacting. You are wise enough to realize that not every battle is worth fighting, and that sometimes the best course of action is to remain silent, stay composed, and move forward with your dignity intact. By resisting the urge to react when we are hurt, we are empowering ourselves, we are demonstrating self-protection, emotional maturity, and strength. We are choosing to protect our peace, to create space for healing, and to engage with the world from a place of wisdom rather than impulsivity. The ability to not react in the face of hurt is one of the most powerful ways to maintain balance, clarity, and emotional resilience in our lives. It is a practice that not only protects us from unnecessary conflict, but also helps us to rise above the negativity and stay true to ourselves when we are hurt by someone. Our initial impulse is often to react, to defend ourselves, to lash out in anger, or to show the other person that we won't allow them to treat us poorly. However, it's essential to recognize that reacting in the heat of the moment often does more harm than good when we let our emotions take the lead. We run the risk of saying or doing things that we'll later regret, and this reaction can perpetuate negativity rather than resolve it. Choosing not to react immediately can bring clarity and peace into a situation, giving us the space we need to respond thoughtfully. This is where the power of emotional control comes in. Emotional control isn't about suppressing your feelings or denying the pain you may feel. It's about acknowledging your emotions and giving yourself the time and space to process them before deciding how to respond. When you choose not to react right away, you can step back and assess the situation with a clear mind. Emotions are powerful, and when we are hurt, they can cloud our judgment. Reacting based on those emotions can make us say things we don't mean or escalate a situation unnecessarily. However, if we take a moment to breathe, pause, and give ourselves time to reflect, we can respond in a way that aligns with our true values and desires. This allows us to act with intention, not impulsivity, and ensures that our words, and actions will be constructive rather than destructive by refraining from reacting in the heat of the moment. We also avoid adding fuel to the fire. When someone hurts us, it's easy to get swept up in the emotions of the moment and engage in a back and forth of hurtful words or actions. But when we remain composed and choose not to react, we take away the energy other person may be seeking. In many cases, people lash out because they want to provoke a response or because they are struggling with their own emotions. When we choose not to react, we disarm them. Their attempt to provoke us loses its power, and we maintain control over our emotions. This ability to remain calm in the face of provocation not only protects our peace, but also often leads to a more positive outcome in the long run. The other person may even respect us more for maintaining composure, and the situation may naturally diffuse itself without the need for further escalation. The decision not to react when we are hurt is a powerful way to protect our peace, maintain our emotional control, and navigate life's challenges with wisdom and clarity. It's a conscious choice to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively, and to act in ways that align with our values and long-term goals. By cultivating this emotional control, we empower ourselves to navigate difficult situations with grace, resilience, and understanding. This ability to choose silence, patience, and reflection rather than reaction is not only a powerful tool for personal growth, but also for building stronger, more positive relationships and creating a life filled with inner peace. When we are hurt by someone, the natural instinct is often to react, to defend ourselves, to lash out, or to express our hurt. This knee-jerk reaction comes from our emotional brain, which wants to protect us from further pain. However, reacting impulsively often leads to more damage, both to ourselves and to the relationship with the person who hurt us. The key to handling hurtful situations effectively lies in learning to pause before reacting. By giving ourselves space to breathe and reflect, we create an opportunity to respond more consciously. And with greater emotional intelligence, this practice doesn't involve suppressing or denying our feelings. Rather, it is about managing our emotions in a way that empowers us to make better choices and protect our peace. Refraining from immediate reaction also allows us to break the cycle of reactivity that often escalates conflicts. When we react quickly, we often fall into a pattern of defensiveness or retaliation, which only fuels the tension. These responses, while seemingly satisfying in the short term, rarely result in resolution or mutual understanding. In fact, they can escalate the situation, further making the problem more complex and difficult to resolve. When we pause and refrain from reacting, we create an opportunity for the emotional intensity to dissipate. This moment of stillness allows both parties to cool down and reconsider their positions, making it more likely that the situation will be handled with greater calm and consideration. In some cases, not reacting can even prevent the conflict from growing altogether, as the lack of engagement with the emotional outburst of the other person can cause the situation to lose its momentum. One of the most powerful reasons not to react is that it preserves our dignity and emotional well-being. When we react impulsively, we often say things we don't mean or behave in ways that go against our values. We may regret our words or actions afterward, but once they're said, they can't be unsaid. However, by choosing not to react immediately, we maintain control over our actions and our emotional responses. This allows us to stay true to who we are, even in difficult situations, instead of letting someone else's behavior dictate how we behave. We assert our emotional independence. We choose to rise above the situation, not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough to maintain our peace and not let external circumstances dictate our internal state. By doing so, we safeguard our dignity, ensuring that we won't act in ways that are inconsistent with the person we want to be. Another reason why choose not to react is so powerful is that it gives us time to gain perspective when we are hurt. Our emotions are often clouded by anger, resentment, or confusion. These emotions can make it difficult to see the situation clearly or to understand the motivations behind the other person's actions. However, when we take a moment to pause, we allow ourselves the opportunity to reflect on the situation with greater clarity. We may realize that the person who hurt us was acting out of their own pain or insecurity, or that their actions were not necessarily directed at us personally. This shift in perspective can help us let go of any immediate emotional to charge and allow us to respond with greater empathy and understanding. By not reacting impulsively, we take the time to recognize the bigger picture, which helps us avoid making assumptions, ions, and judgments that may not be accurate. This deeper level of awareness allows us to respond in a way that is not just based on how we feel in the moment, but also on a more thoughtful and compassionate understanding of the situation. Taking a moment to pause before reacting helps us to preserve our emotional energy every time we react emotionally. We expend energy that could be better spent on more constructive pursuits by choosing not to react. We prevent ourselves from getting caught up in negative emotions and the drama of the situation. We avoid the cycle of ruminating on hurtful words or actions, which can drain us emotionally and mentally. Instead, we conserve our energy for things that truly matter to us and for responses that are aligned with our values. The more we practice this self-restraint, the more energy we have to focus on our own growth, our relationships, and our personal goals. This ability to conserve emotional energy is a key component of emotional resilience. It allows us to move through life with a sense of emotional equilibrium rather than being tossed around by the winds of external circumstances. Another benefit of choosing not to react is that it allows us to create healthier relationships. When we react impulsively in relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues, we risk damaging the connection. By engaging in a cycle of hurtful exchanges, by taking the time to reflect and choose for a thoughtful response, we create an opportunity for more respectful and constructive communication. Choosing not to react immediately also sets a powerful example for others. When we handle hurt with emotional control and grace, we show the other person that we are not interested in engaging in petty arguments or negative behavior. This can help to diffuse the tension and shift the tone of the interaction in the long run. Relationships that are built on mutual respect and emotional intelligence tend to be stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling by refraining from reacting. In the heat of the moment, we lay the foundation for deeper trust, understanding, and respect in our relationships. Choosing not to react when we are hurt is an act of self-respect and emotional maturity. It takes courage to hold back when we feel wounded, especially when the instinct is to defend ourselves or seek retribution. However, the more we practice emotional restraint, the more we demonstrate that we value our peace and well-being over the satisfaction of a quick emotional reaction. This decision to not engage in every conflict or argument knows that we are in control of our emotional state, and we won't let external situations dictate how we feel or behave. By choosing not to react, we assert our own worth and demonstrate that we don't need to prove ourselves or engage in negative behavior in order to feel validated. Instead, we show that we are secure in who we are and are committed to maintaining our peace and integrity regardless of how others treat us. Choosing not to react when someone hurts us is a powerful practice that fosters emotional intelligence, personal growth, and healthier relationships. It allows us to maintain control over our emotions, respond with clarity and compassion, and protect our peace of mind. By practicing emotional restraint, we demonstrate self-respect, emotional maturity, and wisdom. This ability to pause, reflect, and choose a thoughtful response is not only essential for navigating conflict, but is also key to leading a more balanced, fulfilling, and empowered life. Choosing not to react also allows us to reflect on the situation more deeply. In the heat of the moment, we are often focused on our own emotional response to what happened. We may feel betrayed, angry, or upset, but these emotions don't always reflect the full picture when we give ourselves space before reacting. We open up the possibility for understanding. It's easy to take things personally, but sometimes the other person's behavior has more to do with their own struggles than it does with us. By choosing not to react, we create room for empathy. We begin to recognize that the hurtful words or actions may not have been intended to harm us personally, but rather were a reflection of the other person's pain or frustration. This shift in perspective can help us to respond with more compassion and less defensiveness, leading to greater harmony and understanding. Another powerful aspect of choosing not to react is that it enables us to preserve our inner peace in life. We are constantly exposed to challenges, disappointments, and difficult situations. But the one thing we can control is our response when we react. Impulsively to hurt, we allow external factors to disrupt our internal peace. We may find ourselves carrying that hurt with us, replaying the situation over and over in our minds and allowing it to affect our mood and our day. However, when we resist the urge to react, we protect our emotional well-being. We maintain control over our inner state and choose to remain calm, focused, and centered, regardless of what's happening around us. This inner peace is invaluable. And when we practice emotional control, we build resilience and fortitude that will serve us in every area of our lives. Maintaining this inner peace also means that we are better able to make wise decisions when we respond emotionally. Our decisions are often clouded by the intensity of our feelings. In these moments, we might say or do things that don't align with our long-term goals or values. However, when we give ourselves time to reflect and choose not to react immediately, we can make decisions that are thoughtful and aligned with our true desires. We may decide that a situation is not worth our emotional energy, or we may choose to engage in a calm and constructive way. This ability to act thoughtfully rather than impulsively ensures that our actions are consistent with the kind of person we aspire to be. Choosing not to react also requires a great deal of self-awareness and self-respect. It takes courage to refrain from responding in the heat of the moment, especially when we feel that we've been wronged. But in doing so, we show ourselves that we value our peace more than the temporary satisfaction of getting back at someone. When we choose to hold our tongue and resist the urge to react, we demonstrate that we are in control of our emotions, and we respect ourselves enough to not let external circumstances dictate how we feel or behave. This self-respect is an important foundation for building confidence, emotional strength, and personal growth. Choosing not to react can often result in healthier relationships. When we react impulsively to someone's hurtful words or actions, we risk damaging the relationship further. Our defensive reaction may only escalate the conflict and create more distance between us and the other person. But when we choose to respond calmly or not to react at all, we allow space for healing and understanding. It shows the other person that we are not interested in engaging in petty arguments, but rather in resolving the situation with maturity and thoughtfulness over time. This can foster greater trust and respect in the relationship, and it can lead to deeper connections built on mutual understanding. The ability to not react when someone hurts us is a powerful tool for personal growth and emotional well-being. It allows us to preserve our peace, reflect on the situation with clarity, and respond with intention. It helps us to approach life's challenges with greater empathy, wisdom, and self-respect. Choosing not to react is not about being passive or avoiding conflict. It's about taking control of our emotions and choosing a response that is aligned with our higher self. This practice of emotional control strengthens our resilience, improves our relationships, and ensures that we continue to grow as emotionally intelligent and balanced individuals. When we are hurt by someone, our immediate impulse is often to react. Sometimes out of hurt, anger, or frustration, we want to defend ourselves, protect our image, or express the emotional pain we are feeling to attempt to restore balance. However, in most cases, reacting to the situation will only worsen it. Our emotions, when unchecked, often lead to impulsive actions that we might later regret. We may say things that are hurtful, escalate the conflict, or damage the relationship further. It's in these moments that choosing not to react becomes one of the most powerful tools for protecting our peace and ensuring that we remain in control of our emotions and our responses. By taking a step back, and resisting the temptation to react. Immediately, we create space for clarity, self-reflection, and the ability to respond in a way that is more constructive and aligned with our values. Choose not to react is an active decision to avoid being swept up in the emotional turbulence that often accompanies hurt. When we give ourselves time to pause before reacting, we allow ourselves the opportunity to evaluate the situation with a clearer, more rational mind. In the heat of the moment, our emotions can cloud our judgment, and we may respond impulsively out of fear, pride, or hurt, but by remaining silent or taking a moment to compose ourselves, we regain control of our response. Instead of reacting out of reflex, we are able to approach the situation thoughtfully with a greater understanding of the underlying causes and motivations. This can help us see the situation from a broader perspective, preventing us from jumping to conclusions or assuming negative intentions. This pause allows us to choose the most appropriate response, one that reflects who we truly are rather than merely reacting to the emotions stirred up by the situation. One of the benefits of choosing not to react is that it gives us the chance to detach from the situation and gain a sense of emotional distance. When we are hurt, we often personalize the actions of others, interpreting their words or behavior as an attack on our character. However, by stepping back and taking a moment to reflect, we may come to realize that the other person's actions have more to do with their own struggles, insecurities, or frustrations than with us. This recognition allows us to stop taking their behavior personally and to avoid internalizing their negativity. Instead of seeing their actions as an attack, we can view them with empathy and understanding, recognizing that their behavior may be a reflection of their own pain or emotional state. In this way, we are not only protecting our own emotional well-being, but also cultivating compassion for the other person. By choosing not to react, we create space for a more thoughtful and compassionate response, rather than getting caught up in a cycle of defensiveness or retaliation. Another key aspect of choosing not to react is that it allows us to preserve our emotional energy. Engaging in conflict or reacting to hurtful behavior can be draining both physically and emotionally. It's easy to get caught up in the drama of the situation, but when we react impulsively, we risk wasting our energy on something that may not even be worth our time or attention. By choosing not to react, we conserve our energy and direct it toward things that truly matter to us. When we take the time to reflect and choose a more thoughtful response, we are engaging in a way that is aligned with our long-term goals and values rather than reacting to an immediate emotional. In this way, we become more intentional in how we spend our energy, ensuring that we are not engaging in battles that will ultimately drain us or detract from our sense of inner peace. Choosing not to react also has the power to shift the dynamics of a situation. Often when someone hurts us, they may be seeking a response, a chance to provoke us, make us feel guilty, or want us to defend ourselves. If we react, we are giving them exactly what they want. However, when we resist the urge to engage, we disarm them. Their attempt to provoke us loses its power, and the situation naturally loses momentum. By remaining calm and composed, we take control of the situation and prevent it from escalating into something bigger than it needs to be. This ability to maintain emotional composure not only protects our peace, but also allows us to set boundaries and establish the tone for how we wish to be treated. It demonstrates that we will not
allow ourselves to be manipulated or drawn into unnecessary conflict. In doing so, we protect our dignity and maintain control over how we choose to interact with others regardless of their behavior. One of the most important aspects of choosing not to react is that it allows us to take responsibility for our emotional state. When we react impulsively, it often feels as though we are at the mercy of the other person's actions. We feel that we must defend ourselves, retaliate, or fight back in order to protect our sense of self. However, when we choose not to react, we are asserting that we are in control of our own emotions. We don't need the other person to validate us, prove our worth, or make us feel better. Our emotional state is our own responsibility. And by choosing not to react, we empower ourselves to stay grounded and centered, regardless of what is happening around us. This shift in mindset enables us to maintain our peace even in the face of conflict or negativity, and reinforces our sense of self-worth. It reminds us that we don't need to engage in every battle, and that sometimes the greatest form of strength is the ability to walk away from a situation with our heads held high in relationships. Both personal and professional, choosing not to react serve as a powerful tool for creating healthy boundaries and maintaining mutual respect. In the heat of conflict, it's easy to become defensive, retaliate, or engage in an argument. However, when we choose to pause and reflect before reacting, we signal that we are not interested in engaging in petty arguments or toxic patterns of communication. Instead, we create the opportunity for more constructive dialogue and healthier resolution. By responding thoughtfully and intentionally, we demonstrate that we value the relationship enough to approach it with care and respect. This approach can lead to deeper understanding, greater trust, and stronger bonds. In the long term, when we resist the urge to react impulsively, we show that we are mature enough to handle challenges with grace and emotional intelligence. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And make sure to subscribe for more money-making tips and powerful tools. I post new videos every week. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. I always reply. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you in the next video. And if you have a moment, I'd love for you to check out the links below. Stoic Today is here to share content that helps you stay grounded, build confidence, attract wealth, and live a life of true success and fulfillment.